Products. Republic Bank. We're the one for you. Classic Lighting. Budget Marine Grenada. Spicer Imaging Center. Habats. Grenada Paper Products. Quick and Easy. Royal. And Horizon Paper Towers.
Good evening and welcome to another Our Climate Reality. It's episode 6 of season 2, and we continue to look at community level climate change interventions. This evening we have two very special guests with us. You know, it's always said that when things happen, the sister isles get left. Well, I'll tell you, not tonight. This evening we are in Carriacou and Petite Martinique. That's where our guests are from, and they are joining us to tell us a lot about what is happening in Carriacou as it relates to community intervention to climate change. Of course, we want to continue to reinforce the community level interventions and what it can do, how it can contribute to climate change response, and is one of the way people can get involved in fighting climate change. So this week we continue to look at community level interventions and the role they play in combating climate change. Last week we had two NGOs with us, Specto and Grencoda, and they operate primarily in the northern and western parishes, although Grencoda does have a project in Marquis in St. Andrew. Now, since the 1850s, the concentration of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, such as carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrous oxide, has risen, mostly as a result of human activity. The use of chemicals and fossil fuels in industry and inadequate land use and deforestation in agriculture have led to global warming, resulting in climate change with the rise in both average global temperature and in sea level. Scientific evidence shows that both pose an enormous threat to human health. Examples of these are heat waves, extreme cold, flooding, dust storms, and hurricanes, among others. These major climatic issues on our planet need to be addressed, mitigated, and reduced, especially in urban areas. Now, climate change is often seen, or it feels like, an overwhelming and insurmountable challenge. But many communities around the world are already working to adapt and become more resilient. Some are getting creative with water conservation, finding sources of energy to power their communities, and even recycling waste. This week, we journey to the sister isles of Carriacou and Petite Martinique, where significant efforts are being made in expanding the use of renewable energy, as well as in strengthening adaptation to climate change. We will take a look at what is being done in the energy sector, the water sector, and the coastal zone in Carriacou and Petite Martinique. Now, of course, I did tell you that we have two very special guests, and after the break, we will have them introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about what they do. Also, after the break, This Week in Climate by Dr. Jenna Blackwood from Mona Campus in Jamaica. So stay with us. We take a short break and we will be back.
Building or renovating your home or business? Why not use clean, renewable energy? Install solar panels to power your home and office and see your energy costs go down and your savings go up. Using renewable solar-powered energy protects our environment, reduces our carbon footprint, and slows the devastating impact of climate change. Republic Bank can help to finance construction and renovations that make use of renewable energy. Visit any Republic Bank branch and ask about renewable energy financing options today.
Republic Bank, we're the one for you.
Solar Vision is the champion. We're lighting up the whole Caribbean. Solar Vision is the champion. We light in the whole Caribbean. The ultimate solution to get rid of pollution. We going green to be healthy. Going green for security. Going green for prosperity. Going green with Solar Vision. We going green.
Available at Grenada Trade Center, Montrouge, St. George. For more information, call 444-5291 or 404-9012.
How do you choose your toilet paper? Just because it's soft and nice. That's how I choose my toilet paper. Made right here in the Isle of Spice. Cherish streets of Harbor Bay. Super value every day. The price is right and locally they're made. Support local when you purchase Cherish and other quality brands from Grenada Paper Products.
As of October 2nd, 2023, the Hubbard's Rewards program will have some exciting new features to better serve you. Streamlined loyalty experience. That is, no more waiting for vouchers to be issued on a quarterly basis via traditional mail. Instant redemption. This means loyalty points earned can be redeemed immediately after purchase and applied towards your future cash purchases upon checking out. Check status. You can instantly review your reward points when checking out or on your printed receipt. Sign up today and start saving when you shop at any Hubbard's department, including the Food Fair and Grenadian General Insurance Company Limited. Please note that existing vouchers are still valid once not expired. Hubbard's, quality service, affordable prices.
Our environment is our responsibility. Budget Marine contributes by selling environmentally friendly products. For example, we sell lightweight open boats that require a relatively small engine. Best to combine with our Tohatsu 4-stroke engines. They use little fuel and have a low emission. Carib Marine solar panels are specially made to withstand the Caribbean climate. The panels are suitable for use at home and on the boat. The required chargers and converters are also available from Budget Marine. Keeping your car and boat clean extends the lifespan. But residues of the cleaning products disappear in nature. We at Budget Marine sell eco-friendly cleaning products from EcoWorks, not harmful to nature and also clean very well. Plastic junk in our oceans is a major problem. Fortunately, there are companies that clean up and reuse the plastic into usable products. Marlowe, manufacturer of lines and ropes, produces docking lines made out of plastic waste. Another company is Sperry Shoes. Sperry has a collection made from used fabrics and plastic waste. Just a few examples of how we at Budget Marine contribute to help protecting our environment. We care.
Welcome back. It's Our Climate Reality, and this evening we continue our discussion on community level climate change intervention. Before we get into our discussion, we have our feature this week in climate, and we are joined by Dr. Jenna Blackwood from Mona Campus in Jamaica. This week we focus on using nature to beat the heat, part 1. Dr. Blackwood.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jenna Blackwood. I'm a landscape architect in Kingston, Jamaica. I'm just going to share with you a session that I shared recently with the University of the West Indies, a session called Climate Change and Landscapes, Using Nature to Beat the Heat. I'm just going to start off by saying that each of us lives in a landscape. And this landscape is where we get all of the things that we need to live, to sustain ourselves. We enjoy these landscapes, and we can talk about these landscapes in terms of their geological or their physical or their cultural features. So, for example, on the top left, we can talk about a coastal landscape. The bottom left, we can talk about an agricultural landscape, and to the bottom right, we can talk about a mountain landscape. And then we can say that the city is a landscape. And the city is full of different elements, streets, parks, factories, even the slums. Everything that makes up the city is part of the landscape. There's a saying here, the history of civilization is the history of man's conquest of the natural landscape. When we talk about climate, we can talk about climate at various scales. So we can talk about what they call the macroclimate. This is the large climate of the entire Earth, or maybe the entire region, like the Caribbean. And this is something that we have little control over, but it is what we are impacted by. We rely on climate scientists to give us information about the climate. And sometimes we have international bodies which are part of it, like the United Nations, World Health Organization, etc. And they give us guidelines. Then there's a mid-range, and this is where we have maybe our city or our town, and that we have some control over. We rely here on the local Met Service to tell us about this climate. So every day they will tell us what the temperature is going to be like. They will tell us the humidity. They will tell us where we're going to get rain. And also, this is where the government or the local government, whichever authority is responsible, is going to have different regulations that we have to build with, and that is for our health or for orderly development. And then there is the microclimate. This is the climate that we have control over. This is down at the scale of something as small as the front yard versus the backyard. Sometimes you might have a sunny front yard because of how the sun moves across your land, or you might have a shady backyard because the sun doesn't get a chance to shine in the backyard. And so the climate is going to be very different for different areas around your property that you can have control over. And so for me, I would just focus here on that mid-range, the mesoclimate, and the small range, the microclimate. One of the things that you might hear about related to the urban landscape is what they call the urban heat island effect. This is where the built-up area is actually much hotter than the surrounding rural areas. And you can see from this diagram, there's a downtown with the high-rise buildings, and this is going to be much hotter than the urban residential, which is surrounding it, or maybe a park, or when you get into the rural farmland. And you'll feel this as you're driving through a city, and then maybe if you're going up into the mountains or you're going into the rural areas around you. But why does this happen? This happens because of the materials that we use to build our cities and how we build our cities. Usually, we're going to have paved areas, hard areas in our city. These hard materials, they absorb the sun and they radiate the sun throughout the day. And so those materials usually feels hotter than, say, soil or grass or plants. We also have a situation where there are no or very few trees. We cut the trees down in order to build our buildings, and the trees assist by putting out moisture. They transpire water, they give off oxygen. What also happens is that you'll find that water percolates into the soil, and that helps to add to that cooling effect. Other things that affect heat or contribute to the heat, air conditioners. So we might turn an air conditioner on inside and we're feeling cool, but outside the air conditioner is giving heat off outside. Or vehicles, heat give off heat as we are driving around. There's heat from the surfaces, from the road, from the buildings. And also we tend to put our water in canals, and that doesn't get into the soil, and so there's no chance of the moisture in the groundwater below. And we can't talk about heat without talking more about the water. When we were in primary school, maybe, or high school, we would have learned about a water cycle. This water cycle is a perfect water cycle, as you can see on the left here, where you have rainfall, and then some of it runs off on the land, some of it percolates down into the soil below, and that forms a groundwater flow, and that's what feeds our streams and goes into the lakes, rivers, eventually. And then there's evaporation, it forms clouds, it comes back over the land, and here we have the rainfall again. But what happens is that as we start building and paving over our land, this water cycle gets disturbed, and we don't have that perfect circle anymore, and there's an imbalance. So there becomes an imbalance because now there is more water that runs off on the surface. There is, when it rains, there's more water that runs off. There is less water that actually filters down into the groundwater below. That has an effect on the streams because the streams will only get water from the surface, but they don't get water from the groundwater. So you might have less water in the streams, which gives you less evaporation, forms fewer clouds, and so you have less rainfall. So there is a disturbance of this cycle. And what is being promoted now is that we need to try to have a more balanced water cycle, where in our built-up areas, we try to mimic as much as possible what the natural systems used to be.
Okay, thank you very much. So that's part one of our feature. Next week, of course, Dr. Blackwood will continue with part two of that presentation, using nature to beat the heat. Very important indeed. Well, I tell you what, folks, we've come to the time where we have to introduce our guests to you. And of course, as I said earlier, they are from the sister isle of Carriacou. And this evening we have with us Mr. Davon Baker. He's from the Ministry of Carriacou and Petite Martinique Affairs, with special responsibilities for climate change and climate action. And of course, we have with us also Mr. Dario Sandrini from the Kido Foundation. So let's welcome them, and we'll start with Mr. Baker. Mr. Baker, good evening and welcome to Our Climate Reality. Take a minute and tell us a little bit about yourself.
This is Zoom. I need to remember to unmute before I speak. Good evening to our host. Good evening, everybody. I'm pretty honored this evening to be a part of this conversation that talks about our engagement with climate change. I think this evening I'll speak both about climate change in the context of adaptation and mitigation, as well as speak from the community engagement and government as well. My name is Davon Baker. I wear several hats in our community. First and foremost, I serve the local ministry, the Ministry of Carriacou and Petite Martinique Affairs, and local government as the IT manager. And I also serve as the climate change focal point for Carriacou and Petite Martinique. And in that role, I work to more or less ensure that our islands are at the forefront of the global effort to combat climate change. In addition to my government role, I'm also the founder of a local NGO called Kipaji Development Initiative, an NGO that is committed to sustainable development of our beautiful islands. And I think it's in that context that I'm more engaged at the community level. And we have done things like train local residents to use drone to map and to monitor natural resources. We have started for the farmers an evening market. We've tested it pre-COVID, and we've done a range of coastal cleanup. So I'm really excited about being here, not only to talk about climate change, but I feel very honored to be in the company of two of my teachers this evening. On the one hand, I have Dario, who has been instrumental in pointing me down the direction of natural resource management, coastal zone management in the 90s to get me where I'm at today. And on the other hand, I have a host who taught me geography at Bishop's College in the 1980s. So I think both persons that I'm with this evening have been instrumental in getting me to the place that I'm at, where I kind of work towards the sustainable development and the best use of our natural resources. I'm very happy to be here, and I look forward to sharing some insights with the audience this evening.
Thank you, Davin. You're exposing some of my business.
Yes,
all right. Yes, indeed. So also with us, Mr. Dario Sandrini from the Kiddo Foundation. Dario, good evening. It's such a pleasure to have you. Take a minute and tell us a little bit about you and what you do.
Yes, good evening, and thank you for having me here. I feel honored, absolutely. And I find it also very, very important that we get together and connect the different fingers of the hand that has to tap global warming for Kariakou. That's very important. So it will not take 100 people, but it will take at least 20. Here we got 2 already. So, yes, the main work for Kiddo Foundation, my name is Dario Sandrini. We've been here since 1990, as Mr. Baker said. We do keystone trees restoration. We did for 20 and more years mangrove restoration, coastal mangrove restoration, sea turtle conservation, of course, because that relates completely with the sea and with the coast. And all of this is also definitely flowing into youth environmental education. Without that, there would be no meaning to even talk about this. So we feel that we have just started the work after many years, and we need to expand. We need to get more people involved.
Yes. Yes, indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So it's time for our discussion, and we're going to start with Davon. We're going to come back to you. We know that there's a lot of work being done to expand the use of renewable energy in Kariakou. We want to start there. Davon, why renewable energy?
Well, first, let me say that we've heard it said over and over that climate change poses an existential threat to islands like Kariakou and Martinique. And the reality is that the smaller the islands, we contributed very little to the cause of climate change, which is those greenhouse gases, the carbons that have us heating up over time. But we're more susceptible and vulnerable to the impacts than the countries, the huge industrial nations who cause it. We have to deal with rising seas. We deal with warming temperatures. You know, everybody's complaining these days how hot it is. We have to deal with extreme weather, the hurricanes, the storms that are intense and sometimes frequent. And they impact our communities and disrupt our lives, mess with our infrastructure, and damage our coastal systems. At the same time, we find ourselves being heavily reliant in these small islands on fossil fuel, especially for energy. And that leaves us vulnerable to volatile prices that changes quickly without any control on our part, and supply disruptions. The people of Kariakou know exactly what I'm talking about. In the last few months, earlier this year, we've had several instances where people go to the gas station and have to leave because there was just not enough fuel available. So that's our predicament, and this more or less underscores the urgent need for us to begin to make the transition to renewable energy sources like solar and wind, sources that provide clean energy and that's affordable and that's reliable. If it's one thing we know, Kariakou is extremely hot. That's something that everybody's doing. We have harsh sunlight for the greater part of just about any year, and therefore, for an island nation that is on the front line, of climate change, I think it makes sense to tap into an abundant natural resource for energy. Renewables can boost our energy security, which is important, while allowing us to take charge of our energy future in a way that fights climate change. As an island nation, as this Kariakou and Martinique, along with Grenada, we are very volatile, vulnerable to the volatile circumstances around the fuel situation, fuel prices that change and supply disruptions. We currently depend on imported fuel for over 95% of our electricity generation, and the shifting to renewable, what it would do for us is provide a sense of independence as well as a sense of stability for us as a people. Solar and wind, coupled by battery storage, would allow us to tap into free and inexhaustible resources. You know, it's right here in Carriacou. We don't have to import it. Once we install it, the fuel source remains free and available for decades, for lifetime, for generations, you know. And when you compare that to diesel that you use for the power generation currently, the prices change, it spiked, we run out. And just over the last year alone, I believe diesel prices have almost doubled. Currently, it's about over $3 EC dollars per liter. And our energy bill as an island, for Carriacou alone, is in the region of $70,000 US per month. That's close to 200,000 EC dollars a month. That's 200,000 of your money that leaves the island, that leaves the country. Whereas you have the option to go to renewable, and it changes the dynamics of our spending. The money circulates in the local economy as opposed to going overseas. So that's another reason to do renewable. It's also great for its job creation potential. This is a new area. It's a new industry. It's an area where people can be trained and where people can have a new source of income. So Carriacou Pidematic has excellent potential for solar development. We have sun, we have good trade winds, we have a fairly small grid with Grand Lake that makes renewable integration fairly easy because it's not a huge complex grid. So it's an area that we really need to look at, both for less reliance on fossil fuel, as well as for lowering our greenhouse gas emissions and just to enhance our island in terms of sustainability in the face of climate change.
Yes, indeed. That's very, very interesting, Davon. But let's talk about the work that's been done thus far as it relates to what you just explained to us, and what are the plans going forward?
Okay, so something I should say before I jump into that is that this conversation, I think, is pretty timely because today, November 1st, starts it's a start of the CARICOM Energy Month. So I think we're looking at renewable energy at the perfect time. So Carriacou has already made several excellent strides into adopting renewable energies. It's not major for the most part because the bulk of our power still comes from diesel generators. To date, we have installed about 325 kilowatts of solar PV on government locations and residential rooftops. We've done it with support from donors like the United Arab Emirates, from the European Union, with partners like the 5Cs. And this covers only about 3% of our peak electricity demand, of the electricity that we need island-wide throughout the course of the year. This covers only about 3%. So it's just a scratch on the surface. And we have some way to go. One of the major initiatives that we undertook, and it's been almost 10 years or more, and people are not aware of this, is that desalination plants that we have in operation on Carriacou and Pidematic, projects of the Ministry of Carriacou and Pidematic Affairs in collaboration with other partners like the Ministry of the Environment and NAWASA. They are twinned with solar PV installations that offset the cost of producing water from the sea. So we've already done those. We have two fields, but actually one on Carriacou, and there's one at the Red Gate in St. David's that is twinned with the Carriacou desalination plant, and not a lot of people know that. So this is a start, but we have a major project coming to completion. It's just at the stage where we're being prepared to have it handed over and to commission it. It's solar field at Limle, Carriacou, the Limle Solar PV project, that is to the capacity of 856 kilowatts. It's funded by United Arab Emirates, and it will be a major expansion in Carriacou's energy sector, providing some 15% of Carriacou's annual electricity needs. So that would be a huge jump from 3% to 15%. And unlike previous installation, this one would include battery storage. The ones that I spoke about before do not have battery. They feed directly back into the Grand Lake grid, but this one includes battery storage. And what this means is that it provides the ability for power to be dispatched to the grid, but for power also to be stored and to be used in the case of a disruption. And this, when it's commissioned, would save us at least something like 320,000 liters of diesel per year. That's 320,000 liters of diesel that we would not have to pay for. And to give you some perspective and to provide a little context on what this means, let's say a typical home in Carriacou might use around 1 to 2 kilowatt hour with solar panels on the roof to meet their household electricity needs. And that gives us probably an estimated 300 to 500 kilowatt hours monthly usage. This project, what it would do at peak performance, it would be like installing solar PV to power over 400 homes on the island, So it's a huge accomplishment. Once commissioned, it will be the largest such installation in the country. And the battery that goes along with it, it's a capacity of 768, over 700 kilowatt hours of usable battery storage. That would be like having a huge power bank. For the people who have the cell phones, they have the power banks that they charge when you have no place to plug in. So it's like you have a huge power bank that could dispatch and discharge into the network and provide enough power for over 150 average homes for a full day. A full day when you have no sun and no other means of power, 150 homes could be powered by the capacity of that battery storage. So now to look ahead, we have to begin to make some plans to perhaps double our capacity, the capacity at Limle, perhaps to add battery storage at the generation side, the power generation site in Boseju, and perhaps even to add a similar solar array on another section of the island to another feeder of the island's grid. A good goal for us would be to reach perhaps about 50% renewable penetration within 5 years. As a short-term goal, I think that would be an excellent goal. But we also need to start looking at building our electricity vehicle infrastructure. It's not sufficient that we provide electricity to the homes, but we need to start changing our vehicle stock to have an increase in the number of electric vehicles on the streets. Currently, I'm aware that we have at least one hybrid, but I'm pretty certain that it runs on power because there's no means to charge it on diesel power. So we need to start looking at things like that, at net metering policies and financing mechanisms. We need to find ways to incentivize the uptake of renewable energy to make it attractive to people, make it affordable, so that persons in their home could adopt it and begin to make that switch to solar and renewable energy. So I think our future it looks pretty good. We need to consider the legal framework that we have and to implement policies, the right policies to support the work that we want to do. We need to consider smart grids. So we stand in a very good place, I think, with this project coming on stream. And we need to start thinking ahead and start considering public-private partnerships and finding the investors who would make that injection that we need into the renewable revolution for Carriacou and Peter Martinique.
Right, thank you. This is really, really great work. I'm happy to hear that. It seems like Carriacou is a little ahead of us, Davon.
Definitely. I mean, I know there are some installations in Grenada, but like I said, one of them that you have is really ours. It belongs or is twinned with the desalination plant in Carriacou. And but yeah, we with this installation, we're jumping ahead of what Grenada has done so far. So we're taking the lead here.
Wonderful. I want to turn now to the Kidder Foundation and bring in our friend here. So can you talk to us, Dario, about what your foundation has been involved in over the years, where you are, and some of the plans for long term?
Yes, thank you. Absolutely. But before that, I would like to congratulate and say how Mr. Devon Baker, whom I met as a student, is really making me proud. You're wonderful.
Yes, indeed.
Very good news, very exciting news. And you know, this stuff could have happened 30 years ago. There was already the talk, there was already the push, there were people ready for it, but again, the powers that be were pushing the brakes. it would not happen because too much was to lose, so to speak. Anyway, please, so thank you, Devon. And let me go to then what the little keto does. Smaller things, not so technical, but a lot of physical and mental effort is involved. We plant trees. So we felt that the greening of Kariakoo is an absolute. It must happen together with the energy issue. As we move to solar, we must also absolutely help Kariakoo on the ground and the coastal Kariakoo, because it is drying out very quickly, because it is losing its vegetation and it loses its soil. It had lost already a lot of soil and needs badly a rebuilding of good topsoil. To do that, only trees can do that. Plastic cannot do that, umbrellas cannot do that, and so on. So what have we done? We have, for instance, just as an example, planted in about 18 months, the last 18 months, 3 rain seasons, 700 saplings of keystone trees, mainly evergreen trees, up in High North, and now we are tackling Ansel Roche from the hill, from the ridge to the reef. So there are 37 different species of trees which we grow from seed, from endemic seed collected here. This is very important. So we do not change Kariakoo, we enhance it, we try to bring it back as we know it can. The world that Devon Baker and of course our conductor here promote will be possible and will be really truly realized only if Kariakoo is totally breathing healthily and the temperatures down, not up. To do that, again, here we go. We planted also mangroves since 1995, in the thousands, about 6,000 mangrove propagules every year. So if we count in 20 years, it's a lot of trees. Many needed to be replaced. We kept on going back. And as you can, thank you for showing some of the photos here, is the youths, the communities were part of it. The youths bought into feeling that they are part of history when they plant trees with us. That's beautiful, because when I mean us, it's just 2 or 3 little leaders, let's say, promoters, We have the ideas and we also try to find the funding, but then the work is done by the youth. This is fabulous, and this is great, and we're very grateful. Next, there are also other possibilities. We collect sargassum as fertilizer. Treated sargassum off the beach costs hardly anything. Liberates the beach along the East Coast, and if it is cured for a couple of months, also naturally, it becomes the best fertilizer. Organic, totally organic, rich as you need. This is like, there were studies from University of West Indies years ago already. It was very clear, but nobody bought into it. Okay, so now we are collecting. We are literally collecting with youths bagfuls, which we use for planting the trees. So we use natural manure and fertilizer from sargassum. Next, to try to hold the erosion in check, vetiver. We have actually purchased, and as soon as the rain season comes, 3,000 vetiver plants planted strategically along certain contours to try to recreate soil, to stop the rain from, as you were saying, flooding straight down and absolutely not being absorbed by the soil. I think that the soil cannot absorb it because there is no soil. There's too little soil. There's good soil in certain places and hardly any, especially on the hills and so on. So we need to help the vegetation. Going to the next situation is my mantra. High North, which is the northern forest where the national park is. It's in a way your Grand Teton, if you wish, or your Mount Catherine. For us, it is High North right now, is the lung of Carriacou. And I use that example to speak to the youth. I say, imagine that Carriacou, little Carriacou, is your body. What do you do to cool off? You need key spots that are sensitive enough and able to be cooled off. Just like if the body is overheated, what do you do when a person goes into a crisis? The wrists, the neck, the feet, the ankles, you don't dump them in the cold water, you kill the person. So what happens? We reforest the north of Carriacou. This is our key job right now, and we managed to get sponsors so that there is enough machinery. And of course, we employ young community youths. I would like to say, where do these youths come from? Well, they were 10 or 12-year-old, 10 years ago, 12 years ago, when they came with us hiking in High North, going to see what the beaches are doing, checking the iguanas, etc., etc. So they visited the island during our weekend tours, and now they are very much our workforce. And there are more coming because we keep on getting, of course, requests for working there. The next point for what we do is that students, teachers, community members did go to the mangroves, changed their opinion that the mangrove is a stinking place. It is not a stinking place. It's an incredibly important ecosystem. In fact, the north of Carriacou has 5 ecosystems in one very limited area, like maybe 600-700 acres. We have the seagrass beds, we have what is left of the corals, we have the mangroves, the wetland, the nesting beaches for turtles. So all of these are a jewel to protect. But I'm saying it is not just, together with the forest, a jewel. It is a functioning lung for the greening of Carriacou. That canopy of evergreen new trees within a few years, and we're talking about 10, 15, 20 years, will create a cooler area that will provoke a limitation of the heat. And it was done through nature. So it's really work. It's not rocket science, but it is science. And it is natural science, and it demands our contribution by a number of people, not just 2 or 3, not 5, not 10, but at least 100 or 150. This is what Kido is trying to.
Thank you very much. And of course, I'll be coming back to you. But we need to take a short commercial break. When we come back, we continue our discussion. Stay with us, folks. We'll be back in just a moment.
Building or renovating your home or business? Why not use clean, renewable energy? Install solar panels to power your home and office and see your energy costs go down and your savings go up. Using renewable solar-powered energy protects our environment, reduces our carbon footprint, and slows the devastating impact of climate change. Republic Bank can help to finance construction and renovations that make use of renewable energy. Visit any Republic Bank branch and ask about renewable energy financing options today.
Republic Bank, we're the one for you.
Solar Vision is the champion. We lighten up the old Caribbean. Solar Vision is the champion. We lighten the old Caribbean. The ultimate solution to get rid of pollution. We're going green to be healthy. Going green for security. Going green for prosperity. Going green with Solar Vision. We're going green.
Available at Grenada Trade Center, Monrouge, St. George. For more information, call 444-5291 or 404-9012.
Our environment is our responsibility. Budget Marine contributes by selling environmentally friendly products. For example, we sell lightweight open boats that require a relatively small engine. Best to combine with our Tohatsu 4-stroke engines. They use little fuel and have a low emission. Carib Marine solar panels are specially made to withstand the Caribbean climate. The panels are suitable for use at home and on the boat. The required chargers and converters are also available from Budget Marine. Keeping your car and boat clean extends the lifespan. But residues of the cleaning products disappear in nature. We at Budget Marine sell eco-friendly cleaning products from EcoWorks, not harmful to nature and also clean very well. Plastic junk in our oceans is a major problem. Fortunately, there are companies that clean up and reuse the plastic into usable products. Marlowe, manufacturer of lines and ropes, produces docking lines made out of plastic waste. Another company is Sperry Shoes. Sperry has a collection made from used fabrics and plastic waste. Just a few examples of how we at Budget Marine contribute to help protecting our environment. We care.
As of October 2nd, 2023, the Hubbard's Rewards program will have some exciting new features to better serve you. Streamlined loyalty experience. That is, no more waiting for vouchers to be issued on a quarterly basis via traditional mail. Instant redemption. This means loyalty points earned can be redeemed immediately after purchase and applied towards your future cash purchases upon checking out. Check status. You can instantly review your reward points when checking out or on your printed receipt. Sign up today and start saving when you shop at any Hubbard's department, including the Food Fair and Grenadian General Insurance Company Limited. Please note that existing vouchers are still valid once not expired. Hubbard's, quality service, affordable prices.
How do you choose your toilet paper? Just because it's soft and nice. That's how I choose my toilet paper. Made right here in the Isle of Spice. Cherish Springs off Harbor Bay. Super value every day. The price is right and locally they're made. Support local when you purchase Cherish and other quality brands from Grenada Paper Products.
Welcome back, everyone. It's our Climate Reality episode 6 of season 2. We're talking with Mr. Davin Baker and Mr. Dario Sandrini, both from Carriacou, doing a lot of wonderful work to help in mitigation to climate change. Davin, I want to come back to you quickly. You spoke quite a bit about renewable energy and the work being done. How has the public responded, and have they been involved? And talk to us about that.
Okay, so I think that the involvement of the public really has been quite limited. I think there's been great emphasis more or less on getting things right, because this is a hugely technical and complex undertaking. The inclusion of community is really a work in progress. So so far, for the most part, we've had the involvement of government partners like Grenlec and other entities. However, we recognize a need for increased public education and awareness and buy-in at the local level. We can't do this without the public. We need them to understand the value of an undertaking like this. And we need to get the public overall to really buy into the whole idea of transitioning to renewable energy. Because even outside of the major projects, there are things that people can do at the household levels that would be meaningful and useful. So we need to really begin the conversation with the public. Part of the project includes a plan to conduct training across different levels to help build the local skill set to have people participate in in solar and solar battery storage and that sort of technology. During one of the recent site visits by the high-level government team there, the Minister for Climate Resilience was very excited to see a young female as part of the team on the field, hands-on in the installation of the project. And that is another key thing, that we have some sort of gender balance in even the area of renewable energy and the renewable integration. So the training would be across multiple sectors, from the people who need to maintain the grounds around the installation, to the people who have to swap the parts, the people who have to take care of the internet connectivity needs, everything. We want to ensure that people across multiple sectors are brought on board. So although it was not done in the early stages, where the focus was on getting the project really going, when you work with foreign investors, and then they have their own timelines and you have to work to meet their timelines. We as a people tend to be more laid back. They tend to say that in the Caribbean we have implementation fatigue. So sometimes we have to keep up. So I believe the effort and the energies was placed on keeping up. But there's a plan to bring the local community on board and to have people trained, so that more than the high-level stakeholders would be involved in the process of renewable injection across Carriacou and Peter Martinique.
Right. I want to stick with you for a bit, Devon. I know your ministry has also been doing some coastal restoration work, and that project was funded by the Green Climate Fund. Can you enlighten us on this project and the benefits it would bring to the island in combating climate change?
Yes. So, great question. Carriacou as an island is extremely vulnerable to sea level rise, to coastal erosion and to storm surges. It's kind of amazing sometimes when you see how quickly beaches and the coastline change and how it disappears, how huge forests begin to fall into the sea. So we've recognized the need to strengthen our coastal defenses and to build resilience in that area. So we embarked on a project, a restoration project at Lauriston Point, which is known locally as Behind Sands, that point right next to the airport, with financing from the Green Climate Fund under a scheme called the EDA, the Enhanced Direct Access, which allows for the receipt of Green Climate Fund directly coming into the country. Now, the project focuses on several things, but I want to start with the mangrove replanting. Because that is one of the components that is already completed. So that project focused on planting mangrove and seeking to restore the wetlands that were lost in the area from all of the erosion that we experienced. Mangroves provide an essential buffer to protect us from waves and from storm surges and from flooding, and they provide an important service of filtering of flood waters from the hillsides that go into the sea, so they don't carry into the sea all of the debris that clog the oceans and kill the reefs and so forth. So it's really important that we recognize the need to protect our mangrove forests. We must protect our mangrove forests. So what happened under that project is that local people were trained, people from the local community around, they were trained and given a stipend, and they were responsible for a nursery was built. So the seedlings were gathered around Carriacou and some from Grenada as well. And the seedlings were planted into little bags and so forth, and allowed to grow to a place where they can be, planted out into the natural habitats. And these people were responsible for managing the nursery, for watering them and ensuring that they thrive, get to a state of thriving. And then we replanted out in the natural space along the coastline, along the beachfront, and within the interior, if I may call it that, of the mangrove. Over 2,000 seedlings were planted. Naturally, when you have things like this, you have some losses. In particular, at Lauriston Point, we have strong wave energy there, so we lost a lot of the plants to the sea. I want to take a minute here to kind of speak to my people, because one of the things that we recognized were happening is that people were breaking the signage, and sometimes we believe that plants were being removed. So we want you to really be on board with us. We've done training and we've done public awareness, so you know what's happening, and you see the beach disappearing. So we want to urge you, please do not destroy what is being done. And I want to say that this project was done by Grenada Fund for Conservation, but in collaboration with local partners, Kido and Kipaji. Also, in that area, we've had a vessel that was wrecked for years that contributed to the loss of the beach space. That was removed by a local company, by Sky Construction. So now we have a beach that is clear and free from wreckage. But the main part of the project would seek to more or less protect the coastline between Hillsborough and Lauriston Point. And that includes protecting the main road artery that connects Hillsborough and other parts of the island to the Lauriston Airport. The project would include installing Amarocks for coastal defense, a low sea defense wall, and it would call for some replanting. So that we would expect to see roll out. I think we're at the stage now of receiving bids for that major component of the project, and we expect within the next few months to have that completed. That project as a whole was to the tune of over $2.2 million, over $2 million. So in some regards, it brings revenue into the country. We've had local people involved. The nursery that was built remains. It's going to be used locally to continue the work. Kipaji as an entity is more or less going to lead that aspect of it, and we expect, Kipaji, if I may at this point, although we're talking about that project, Kipaji, considering that they will continue the project, is currently undergoing a capacity building training that will look at disaster risk management and focus on one vulnerable community on Carriacou. And during that process, we want to build the organization and to bring other people on board. So, I'm going to make a little plug here. If you're interested in doing that kind of work and you want to be part of the process of capacity building for disaster risk management, then most people know to find me. You can get in touch with me and we'll bring you on board. But we need to realize that climate change is serious, and our coastlines are disappearing quickly, and we need to do whatever we can to support the initiatives that are on the way, and to more or less pursue other initiatives, mangrove planting at different sites to help to conserve and to protect our coastline and to protect key infrastructure like our roadway, the roadways and the airports, etc.
Right, thank you. Daria, I want to bring you in here. This very important project, and Davon did mention your foundation's name in there. What role do you play in that? That is the restoration of the coastline, because I know you've been involved in a lot of planting. Have you been involved in the mangrove planting and also in the restoration of the coastlines?
Yes, correct. In fact, but most of our work was and is in Petit Carénage up in the north, right next to the last serious mangrove forest. That's where the damage facing the north has occurred. Our nature trail completely disappeared in 3 days, in 3 nights of ground seas. We put bridges, we put walks, but everything went. Even the signs we put on, the tree upon which the sign was, and that was 20 feet inland, has disappeared. This one has gone. There is no sand there. It's unbelievable. There it is. And that is gone too. So what I'm saying is, we continue to plant mangroves. Because we did it for a long time, communities also like Bogles asked us, can we put mangroves in Bogles? I say yes. And so we moved here and there to show also in Mount Pleasant at one point that mangroves can be planted by everyone. It is something that a small community can do. A group of neighbors, 5-6 neighbors together on a Sunday could probably plant and maintain. This is the area that you see here of Petit Carénage. Now, this is extremely important, of course, also because of the fish. Without mangroves, fish are not doing very well on the coast. And in fact, we now taste or don't taste the fish. The sad reality that by losing the coast by severe erosion, we are losing also the collectivity of fish along the coast. Now, for that, we feel again, we must make the coast safer. safer for nature, not necessarily for humans. We are so prone to dumping cement and creating big walls, but the walls do not create the environment for more growth with fish, with corals, and so on and so on. We must relink. And this is where I think we come in. We move in the direction of an important necessity, which was a dream of several years ago, the formation of teachers and of a green college in Carriacou. And I'm here because of how I heard about the progress of Devon's work. I say, that could very well team with the IT world and with the solar panels and the renewable energy. That would bring the technicians in and form the jobs together with the forest gardeners. Because forest gardeners, the ones we have work with us really assiduously, I can assure you. In fact, let me just make a little crack there. The tool that breaks the most of the ones we use in planting trees and along the coast and so on, and you see behind me mahogany, you can see silk cotton tree right behind there, and you can see moringas up here, just a few saplings. That tool is the heavy-duty steel pick. The steel pick simply breaks. This is how hard we work. The youths are working so hard, and the meter stone, they want to remove it like they're a bulldozer. Now, that's interesting. It means, by a law of nature, if we put a lot of energy into something and it's done in the right way, I think we can move mountains. I think we can restore forests. And we can also put together the problems that come from the rising seas, to the recovery of the coast.
Right.
That's a very serious basis. That's a very, very serious business. So I hope that this a little bit explains like what we do. And as I said, the direction education-wise is, if we don't manage to excite and interest the youth, 11, 12, 13, at 20, if they don't feel they're part of history, it does not work, because that tire of energy will deflate. But if they do feel that they are part of something they can do to truly help Carriacou to stay alive and to thrive, then it's possible. And I say so because I have noticed that, first of all, in some of the pictures there, I see already students and people who worked with us who were now planting and doing things. Yes, and they're adults, of course. These are the very young ones. Yes, when we did the birding. But what worked the most is that even though we plant a tree, I say, I will never sit under this tree. I will never enjoy the coolness under this green canopy, evergreen canopy. But you will. Mm-hmm. And your children and your grandchildren will. So you realize what you're working for. It's not just the money. You do get the money. We find the money. We look for it. But you must have that energy that comes only from you if you understand that you love to rescue our little island. Because rescue is what it's about. It doesn't come too soon. And I think that's where the hope comes, because these youths are wonderful.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, and the gender, several women, several females come and join. 9 teachers, 9 nature guides certified by GTA. We trained them during the last period of 6 months after COVID. They're all females. There's one guy. All females. Indeed. So they are already in it. And I feel this is what the small island needs, that we realize that there is so much more than what we are used to think the Kariakou is. There is so much more. New eyes, said my father. To see new things in old things, one must have new eyes.
Yes,
that's interesting.
Yes, very, very. Now, gentlemen, we all understand that, we have to play our part. We have to respond. We have to be able to adapt, and we have to take actions that can mitigate against, climate change. Now, why is it important? And quickly, because we're already out of time, very, very quickly, why is it important for the community, our communities, to get involved in that kind of work? Davon, take a minute, and I'll give Dario a minute just to respond to this.
Okay, great. Good question. It's important that we recognize and accept that climate change is a collective crisis that requires mobilization at all levels of society. It's not a poor man thing. It's not an agriculture thing. Quite often I hear, why is the IT guy so involved? But it's everybody's thing, and community-led initiatives are critical in the fight against climate change. The top-down policies alone cannot create the scale of change that we need to fight and to combat climate change, especially in small islands. So we need to get everybody involved. We need to encourage grassroots action, get the schools and the youth groups to do things like composting or very small renewable initiatives. Just this past week, we started in the ministry discussion with an agency overseas to bring composting projects to Kariakou and to include the schools, because we realize that everybody should be involved. It's all our business. It affects all of us, and we should leave none out of the process. So the community is key. A lot of very creative ideas come from the community, and we definitely should not leave them out. We need to include them.
Thank you, Davon. Dario, can you take a minute and just to respond to that?
Yes. One important thing is we must, in the mechanism of involving the community, we cannot ask people to do it voluntarily as a volunteer. I may be a volunteer, but not everyone can. So the youth must receive a salary. So our role is to try to get donors interested and keen to supply a good salary for those, or a good amount, to pay for the work. But that's one part of the thing, and that's very, very important because it pays the bills. And the other part is that it is not a go and do this job. It is not like that. Oh, go and plant that tree. No, it is really, and with an understanding of what nature is doing, the complexity is there. And I enter it this time not to destroy, not to cut, not to use, not to abuse, but to actually see how I can help it. That spirit is very important because there's no money that pays for that. I say to our youths, the money does not pay for the work. It pays because you have to live. Mm-hmm. The work itself is a work of love. It's a work of something that the more you understand it and the more you care for it, because when you care for it, you realize you care for the life of everybody. Mm-hmm. So that is important. That's very important. So it's like a quality versus the quantity. The money can allow me for quantity of something, but the quality is intangible, but it is more tangible than the money.
Right.
Quite frankly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Gentlemen, we're out of time. I wish we could continue. What I'm hearing about Kariakou, it's really, really wonderful. And I really hope that, the people on the mainland here can, grab onto that kind of energy and start taking some more actions. But just before we go, quickly, and I'm going to start with you first, Dario. 30 seconds from the discussion that you've had, what you've presented, one thing you would like our audience to take with them tonight.
Yes. Plant trees and don't cut down trees. Don't use the roadside as a waste or a place to completely, excuse me if I use the hard word, raid. Yes, to cut everything out as soon as it grows. That's a very important. There's a huge area of cooling Kariakou, precisely along the roadside, next to the cement all the way to the private property. That must be saved and utilized instead for planting, for serious planting. That is common land. Yes,
thank you.
That's very important.
Yeah, thank you. Davon, what one thing you would like the audience to take with them this evening?
I think this was a good talk tonight. We have not even talked about water, which is a major thing for Kariakou, but there's so much. I need to zoom in on one, and let's say I really need all people to understand the value of what we have. If you see people coming from all over the world and setting up base here. We need to take care of it. It belongs to every one of us, not the people in the ministerial positions or the high level position in the ministry or wherever. It's ours, and we need to be involved. We need not let anyone exclude us from the opportunity to take care of the resources that we have. It's all we have. We need to take care of it.
Thank you very much, Davon. And folks, you heard Davon say that we have not even touched water. I hope he understands that he has to come back on the program. Definitely, we have not finished that. We need to know about all that's happening in Kariakou and Petite Martinique. Folks, I just want to end by saying, what I said earlier. Climate change can often feel like an overwhelming, insurmountable challenge. But there are many communities around the world that are already working to adapt and become more resilient, as we heard like what's happening in Kariakou. Remember, folks, climate change is real. We must act now. We want to thank all our sponsors this evening, Republic Bank, Hubbard's, Grenada Paper Products, Spice Isle Imaging Center, Budget Marine, and Classic Lighting. Also special thanks to Mr. Leon Charles, Dr. Spencer Thomas, Ms. Matilda Duncan, and also special thanks to Dr. Jenna Blackwood from Mona Campus in Jamaica. That's our program this evening. Be sure to join us next Wednesday for episode 7 of Our Climate Reality. Have a good night.
Our Climate Reality comes to you compliments. Republic Bank, we're the one for you. Classic Lighting, Budget Marine Grenada, Spice Isle Imaging Center, Hubbard's, Grenada Paper Products, Quick and Easy, Royal, and Horizon Paper Towers.